this is kind of interesting to me because I'm not really a big Halo fan. In the early days of the original Xbox, I was. I played through the original Halo possibly a dozen times. Halo 2 several times, absolutely. Halo 3 even I played through at least a couple of times. I remember doing it on different difficulty levels. Really enjoyed those games a lot. Did a lot of the multiplayer stuff. But it's kind of lost me over the years. You know, I think for me, Call of Duty is just a much better multiplayer experience. But I have to give these guys a lot of credit because, you know, Halo 5 came out as an Xbox One exclusive. Since then, they have released over and over again free DLC. Leo, do you know what that means, DLC, by the way?
Destroy Leo's computer. I think that's what Michael thinks it means anyway, yeah.
So they've had like 9 major DLC drops on Halo 5, and they've all been free. And so the latest is called Anvil's Legacy, and this one's a big deal on a number of levels, but the big news really is that the Forge toolset, which is the application you can run on the Xbox usually to make levels for Halo, now works on Windows 10 PCs. And that means you can use it with a mouse. That means you can use it on a 4K display and really, you know, get in there and see the elements very close up. And you can build levels for Halo 5 on a PC now using this free tool.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty
it is pretty cool. Again, I'm not going to do it myself, and I'm not really into Halo, but I have to say, you know, as someone who pays a lot of money, in fact, you will always pay as much for DLC on a Call of Duty game as you do for the game itself. If you buy the, you know, the year pass, it's incredible that this game would be supported this way. Like, that's really neat. So good for them.
What else is foolish to ask, but do you have an opinion on the Sony PlayStation announcements?
Yeah, I do. You know, I said something earlier about me being like a reaction nerve or whatever. I go through stages with this kind of stuff. And so we knew Sony was coming out with a low-cost version of the PlayStation 4, like the Xbox One S.
Right.
And we knew that Sony was coming out with a 4K version of the console. The big difference between what Microsoft is doing and what Sony is doing, the biggest difference, is that both of those consoles are happening this year, whereas Microsoft's 4K console isn't happening until next year. Sony has been outselling Microsoft 2-to-1 this generation of consoles. I don't see that changing. And I think that I've always thought that this notion of mid-life cycle platform upgrades is super smart. And I'm really glad to see both of the big companies are doing this. The ability to play all of the existing games and have them potentially be even better on the higher-end console is a nice upgrade path for people. I think the biggest problem with consoles to date has always been that you basically lose the old games when you go to the new. And that's, you know, true of consoles in the 1980s, like when you went from a 2600 to a 5200, or modern consoles like the Xbox 360 to Xbox One, or the PlayStation to whatever. You know, this has always been an issue, and they sort of figured out ways around it. You know, we have the backwards compatibility thing now for Xbox One, and it's neat. Like, I'm really glad it's there, but the truth is these are two completely different platforms. And that Xbox 360 game your son's playing, Black Ops, on the Xbox One, that's basically a Centennial app running on, you know, I mean, it's that kind of technology. It's a self-contained virtual machine kind of thing. It's like it's emulation, essentially. And not having to do that, you know, is important. These games are expensive. You know, DLC is $60 a year for Call of Duty. The game is $60. It's really neat for that stuff to go forward onto a console that can not only just play those things and play them properly, but also play better looking games. 4K, perhaps, in the case of Sony, or virtual reality stuff that might look better on the higher end console. So I think the big thing for Sony is that they're doing it now. And I think we all understand these games are not going to run at 4K resolutions pretty much ever, or you know, or certainly not all the time. But I think anything over 1080p, if you're a console guy, it's a big deal. And there's a new Call of Duty game coming out this fall. There's a new Call of Duty remastered Modern Warfare that comes with it for free. Those will look better on the PlayStation Pro, and that really makes me want to own one of those, because that's a big deal for me. So, yeah, we'll see what Microsoft does next year, but I don't know. I think Xbox is gonna have a few months in the sun where they kind of outsell PlayStation, and then I think it's over.